of District 99, lifelong resident of District 99, and graduate of New Orleans public school system. I graduated from McDonald 35 Senior High School, then went on to the University of Southwestern Louisiana, where I received my bachelor's degree in mass communications. Then went on to Southern University in Baton Rouge, where I received my master's degree in public administration. After college, some friends and I, we started a nonprofit called First Friday Community Development Association, which was, what we did was we highlighted small, minority, and women-owned businesses in the community. We would go to that business, we would do all the publicized refreshments, and let that area know that there was a new small, minority, and women-owned business in the area. We would go through the whole city, New Orleans East, the West Bank, East Bank, downtown, uptown, and we let everybody know there's a new business in town so that business can grow and thrive in the city. As a former director of communications from the Housing Authority of New Orleans, I was uniquely positioned to deal with the complex issues of affordable housing and home ownership. As a 15-year advocate of small, minority, and women-owned businesses, I understand the need and importance of growing and supporting local businesses. I have assisted hundreds of businesses and given them access to over $200 million in contracts, which created jobs in the community. Over the past 20 years, I have collected thousands of toys through our annual toy drive. These toys have been distributed through Zulu Toy Patai and other agencies during the holiday season to give the parents and families a little relief. So I'm running because I want to continue to help, serve, and be that voice in Baton Rouge, fighting for the residents of District 99. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Matthew Willard. I'm a candidate for state representative in District 97. First, I would like to thank all of you for the work that you do in our communities and throughout our state, especially fighting for the citizens up there in Cancer Alley. I ran first during the primary with 36% of the vote, and I'm hoping to take it home on November 16th. A little bit about myself. I'm the president of my neighborhood association, so I already have boots on the ground. I've cleaned out catch basins. I've helped neighbors with their damaged streets and trees that are overgrown on property. I'm a founding board member for a nonprofit called Jason's House, which is fighting the opioid crisis, which has taken more lives in our city and in Jefferson Parish than murder. And a little bit about my platform. Everything about me is from what I've heard from people in District 97. I have a full policy-based platform on my website. I'm the only candidate in my race that has that. I'm fighting for living wages. I'm fighting so that cities like New Orleans can handle their own affairs. I'm fighting to close the gender pay gap. I'm fighting for criminal justice reform. In certain instances, a DA will refuse to accept a charge or will drop a charge, and that defendant still has to pay an expungement fee. So it's like we levy these additional costs on people who are already hurting and already overburdened. I'm running to tackle affordable housing and property assessments in our city by raising the homestead exemption and capping the percentage of property value can appreciate in a given period of time. And I'm running to provide viable pathways to success for our children. So if you want to know more about me or about my platform, you can visit MatthewWillard97.com. And I must apologize, I have to head out. I didn't find out about the forum until Friday, and I have a meet and greet scheduled for 5:30 in Mid-City. So I have to head out to that. If you did get my push card, I have my email address on there, and I personally reply to every email that I receive. So if you have any questions for me, please send me an email, and I will promptly reply to you. And again, thank you for all the work that you do in our community and our state.
Happy birthday.
We're going to invite also, thank you, Matthew, and best of luck to you, and thank you for being here. We appreciate you, brother. All right. We're going to invite Amy Freeman's representative to come to the stage as well, too.
All right, my name is Jamel Otis, and I'm here representing Kia Sherman. She unfortunately also had a meeting and cannot be lives in a correct area, and she wants to say thank y'all for hosting this event. She loves the work that Justice Everyone is doing. Unfortunately, her obligations was before this obligation. I'll tell you a little bit about herself. She's a small business owner. She's a small business owner in New Orleans. Prior to running for office, she co-founded Emerge Louisiana, which recruits and trains Democratic women to run for office, as well as Let's Finesse PAC, which provides financial resources to Democratic women candidates statewide. She also served as on the board of directors for Kingsley House, Dress for Success in New Correct Business. She's proud to run and serve her district as District 98 as state representative, and her priorities are infrastructure, early childhood education, one of my most popular, equal pay for women, infrastructure, sewage and water board, and also coastal restoration. So with that being said, I will hand it over to you.
Hi, my name is Bailey. Hi, my name is Bailey. I'm a student at Tulane University. I'm studying history and legal studies, and I'm here on tonight on behalf of Amy. Unfortunately, she wasn't here to be able to make it tonight. We have a prepared statement I'm going to read out. So, growing up in Louisiana, Amy has fond memories of being introduced to the outdoor areas of our state, especially the bayous. As a young child, Amy recalls the outdoor canoe trips to see the cypress trees and the wildlife of the swamp. That being said, we were losing the swampland by day. According to the United States Geographical Survey, Louisiana's coastal parishes have lost roughly 2,006 square miles of land between 1932 and 2016. This harms indigenous communities and impacts Louisiana loss of culture. Our bayous country is an undeniable crisis of our culture for our own actions. Louisiana's biodiversity and natural environments are rapidly disappearing, and what still remains is that we need to due to climate change. Climate change, coastal erosion, rising sea levels, larger and more frequent hurricanes and heavy rain events, and countless other devastating effects of global climate change. The impact of global warming on Louisiana is impacting people's lives and homes. Last year alone in Louisiana, the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development committed to spending $50 million relocating families to higher ground. Amy will be at the table to discuss the United States climate and settlement plans because the lives of Louisiana, all of them, matter. In addition, our cities, our farms, our infrastructure, our food sources, our water, our ability to thrive sustainably in our current existing communities is under immediate threat. As a mother of four and grandmother of one, Amy wants to ensure a safe and healthy future for the state of Louisiana. We are at particular risk according to the 2008 National Climate Assessment Report. Our state will be transformed by climate change, and we must continue to be prepared. My children will see an environment when they are my age difference than I've seen, but I want to make sure it is one that we will have an affirmation sustain. According to Amy. Amy stands in solidarity with the academics, activists, researchers, civic leaders, volunteers, and concerned citizens present today, across the state and across the globe. She knows that climate change is not a partisan issue. Climate change can affect people who vote for red, who vote blue, who cannot vote.
Thank you.
For coming to the table, and all of those issues are very important, but as we all know, how many times do we hear the word kitchen table issues? So the kitchen table issues that affect our community here in Orleans Parish, as well as in the other parishes. We can start with a living wage, and I want to ask each candidate and their representative, how are you going to make that happen? A living wage, that's the first thing. Then I'd like you to address how are you going to deal with the sales tax, because in Orleans Parish, we pay more sales tax than anywhere else. Why is there a tax on food? Can you agree to work to get the taxes at least off of the food? So that's two questions, living wage and high sales tax.
Yes, I'm for, we definitely need a living wage. I would definitely propose legislation to make sure we have a living wage. Also dealing with the sales tax, that's the issue that I would just have to work with my other constituents and make sure that we decrease the sales tax. And also make sure we definitely have a living wage. Just because these days people cannot live on what they're making right now, the minimum wage. So I'm definitely for increasing, make sure we have a living wage.
And what would you consider a living wage? How much would you go for in your business?
$15 an hour.
That's Paul for you. I want to welcome Ms. Candace Newell to the stage. All right. Very good. I know a lot of our candidates are coming and going at many engagements, so we're glad that they take opportunity to be here and their time to be here. So we'll proceed.
Good evening. Gotta speak a little louder. When y'all want me to start? I apologize for my tardiness.
Well, we want to start with your name and what you're running for and what your platform is. What you would do differently than others.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Candace Newell, candidate for state representative for District 99, number 131 on your ballot. What I'm running on is to increase the economic development in District 99, especially in our lower and upper ninth ward areas. This part of the district is, coming back slowly but surely, but we still have a lot of work to do in the lower ninth and the upper ninth ward of the district. I'm also concerned about making sure that education is funded from early childhood education on up to colleges. So our children are prepared when they start school, and when they leave school, they're not burdened with an enormous amount of debt. I'm also concerned about working to continue with criminal justice reform. Having been a student attorney, clerking for a judge, and being an attorney now myself, I see how the changes with the criminal justice reform are helping, but I see how there's a lot more that needs to be done. So again, I'm Candace Newell. That's 3 of my top issues that I'm running on for state representative for District 99.
Questions we were asking in the live, we were asking about what would you do to create a living wage for all of our workers, but also equal pay for women. And then how would you get that Republican-led legislature to assist in raising the minimum wage? Because all these parishes, unfortunately, is the boogeyman of the state. I don't know this southern part of the state and the northern part. The north gets all of the money, even the money we spend, even the taxes we pay, they get a large percentage of what we pay. So, but we are the engine that drives the state. So therefore, what would you do in terms of increasing the minimum wage, and what does that look like to you?
Okay.
Let me just answer this one from Ms. Kier. She's not here. But I do know she would work alongside with the Republicans to push for an incentive for Louisiana, for New Orleans. Write a bill or put forth a bill with those that have the power for an incentive where we can govern as New Orleans can govern our own wages, be able to raise our own wages. So it's a policy called the incentive. As for equal pay for women, she will work alongside diligently with the Republicans that be to push forth bills that protect and boost us up as women of the North.
Well, thank you for coming.
I'm so sorry, y'all.
I too would definitely work to support any bills that come about to raise the minimum wage in our community. And I definitely would work so that each municipality can set their own minimum wage. Because as we have traveled across our state, we know that $15 in New Orleans is a lot different than $15 to try to live in Washington Parish. It's a little bit more expensive to live in the great city of New Orleans, and I would definitely try to raise that. And I would, without a doubt,
work to get women equal pay for equal work. I worked on one of my jobs where I was more qualified than the guy that was working in the office, but he made $3,000 more than I did, and I had more responsibilities than he did. And you know, they say fair is the place where you buy cotton candy and popcorn, but that just was not right. For me to come in at the same time he comes in, leave at the same time, and he getting more than I, but I'm doing just as much. So we want to make sure that our women are getting paid, because as the statistics say, that women of color get 48 cents on the dollar to what our white male counterparts are earning. So we want to make sure that our citizens can afford to live in the city and be able to afford to live where it is that they want to live in our city. So I would definitely work to get a minimum wage and to increase.
And I also asked about the sales tax, because at 9.5%, and I think it's even more than that, because I had an incident where I went to Costco and I saw like 14% of taxes on my bill after I started adding everything up. So it's really, you know, I guess that's the federal side. I don't know what it is, but I know that Orleans Parish pays more sales tax than anyone else.
Yes.
California pays no taxes on food. At the very least, can you commit to trying to work toward getting the taxes off of our food products? Or at least let our sales tax be the same as others? If that's plainly unfair, so we pay more.
Yes, I need to look at my next receipt, because the last I saw was the taxes on food and medicine was 3%. It's not as high as the sales tax on goods and food, but the food and medicine taxes was 3%. And the governor put in the 1 penny to try to get rid of the deficit that we had when we first got into office, to try to offset stuff that was done by the previous administration. So I would definitely work to find ways to be more fiscally responsible, so that the citizens aren't carrying that burden of keeping the debt down. The elected officials need to take on some type of responsibility and be more responsible with what we're spending and how much and what we're spending it on.
Okay, I wanted to ask the next question in terms of mass incarceration. Mass incarceration, we still in Louisiana have the highest incarceration rate in the nation. And if the nation incarcerates more people than anywhere else in the world, what does that say about Louisiana? I know Governor Edwards had released 22 prisoners one time, and I don't know how many others have been released, but I know that the system is also struggling with that non-unanimous jury decision, which was won, thank goodness, but they only are allowing certain people to be released who were convicted with a non-unanimous jury. So that went to the Supreme Court and we won, but they did not make it retroactive. What would you do to try to help people who are incarcerated now, who are incarcerated as a result of a non-unanimous jury based on an 1898 law? What would you do to see that these people are released?
Well, I would just work with my counterparts and investigate and make sure, and just to see how many and who all have been, who's going through that problem. It'd be a big task.
The majority of it.
Right. But, you know, I'll just work with my area, and work with different legislators and my constituents, and just to make sure, just to see what's going, you know, what has happened, and if we can actually get them out or investigate and make sure, and just to see what's going on, and see how big of a problem that is.
And then after I pass it, we will come back to you. Because another problem with incarceration, how many people are incarcerated for possession of marijuana, but you have marijuana that's legal all across, many states, 35, 40 states, I've lost count, but we still have people serving prison sentences for either possession or sale. So something has to be done about that. What are you committed to doing about that? And I'm going to pass it to this new member, and then she can pass it back.
on legalizing it so that we don't have people constantly in jail or in prison for having possession or sale. That's some of the criminal justice reform that I was speaking of earlier. We have a lot more work to do. There, a couple of years ago, they stopped arresting for personal use possession, and if we can just legalize it, then you will not like have people coming in and shipping it in and packaging it and being in prison for large amounts, because you'll have stores, you'll have depositories for it, and not just single people out on the streets distributing. So just work on trying to get it legalized in the state. But that'll be another tax base we can tap into.
In criminal justice reform, make sure that these nonviolent offenders don't get a long jail time, or they aren't in the jail time at all. With carrying some marijuana, get you a long prison sentence. That shouldn't even be the case. Work with the criminal justice reform to make sure that they do not get long sentencing time, and also legalizing, try to legalize it also.
And so the next question is, one more question about prisons. Are you in favor of deprivatizing our prisons, and how would you go about doing this?
Yeah, but probably I would have to think on that, deprivatizing prisons. That would be something that I'll have to work with my other counterparts, and to come up with a solution to see if that's working or what's working right now. So at this point, I wouldn't deprivatize it right now.
Thank you, and I'm surprised they haven't received that question more often. It is something that I have looked at and considered deprivatizing it, because you're getting a lot of free labor, and I believe that that's the reason why we have so many people incarcerated, because it's a way to make money. And but in that effort, we need to be responsible, because then it's going to be another burden on the state, another tax dollar from the state and from the constituents being spent. So I definitely want to look into it, and I will, but we just really need to be responsible on how we do it so that we aren't, the citizens, our pocket isn't burdened with carrying that as well.
Okay, keep the mic, and so I'll just speak a little louder. How would you resolve the housing crisis? We have affordable housing crisis going on. We have gentrification going on. People can't afford the rent. Goodness knows people can't afford their property taxes. I mean, I have to save up 6 months to afford mine. But how will you, what do you do to resolve the housing crisis? Not affordable housing, absolutely, but also, the property tax situation is off the chain.
You're doing well, because I started February 15th saving for next February to pay my property taxes. But I would definitely work with our local elected officials to keep and look at how to freeze or keep in place the property taxes that the present homeowners are paying, so that your house that you purchased in the 70s for $80,000 is not being taxed at the price of the newly constructed $225,000 property next door to you. So I would definitely work on the state level, working with our local officials, like I said, to just try to, again, being responsible about it, because we still have to make sure our city is funded. We still have to make sure that the police, the schools, and the fire is funded fully, just in case anything happens and we need them. We can't not pay into those taxes, so we have to be responsible about the freeze. But I definitely want to look into that and have the age freeze, the income freeze, because we're looking at age, but sometimes you have people who are physically disabled and aren't making any money, and they don't qualify for freeze because of their age, but they're not being considered with a disability. So we just have to look at all parts, and I would definitely work with our local legislation to put that in place.
Yes, and I was a former communications director for the Housing Authority, and I know we do have affordable housing problems in the city. It's like in the lower ninth ward, we have vacant lots everywhere. You have two families that in the neighborhood, but there's a whole vacant lot. I want to work with Nora to get make sure we have some of the property that's available so we can have some of the companies to give them tax relief, or some of the homeowners give them some kind of tax incentive to be able to get some of these vacant lots and build on them. Some of the blighted properties also. As far as property taxes, I totally agree that we need, I would propose legislation to freeze property taxes. I agree that some of these areas, you have elderly who have purchased these homes years ago, and through gentrification, now they can't afford their property tax, and the property probably going to lose their homes because they can't afford it. So I'll definitely for stopping the increase of property tax, or freeze the property tax.
I want to ask, would you be committed, either one of you guys, or both of you, committed to overturning or abolishing or rescinding Act 91 and returning schools to local control, local elected officials, so that parents, grandparents, guardians can then hold those who are supposed to be educating our children accountable?
Well, good education for all the children. What I would do is, it's not going to be abolished totally all at one time. I believe that if it's a failing school, it should go under local control. I graduated from McDonald 35 Senior High School. We were one of the last charter schools that became a charter school. But we have an alumni association that's very strong. So we actually hold them accountable. They have to be transparent, and we're just not going to sit there and just let them do anything that they want with the school. But any failing schools, I suggest that they turn over back to local control.
And again, I'm not going to say totally abolish it or repeal it, because we keep talking about repealing it, but we have to have something to replace it with. So I would definitely work on making amendments to change what's going on with our charter schools. One of the amendments that I've talked about is working on getting one set calendar across the system, so all the kids are on break at the same time. All of the kids are learning from the same books. I remember when I was in school, if it was the time I left a book at home. My cousin who's the same age went to another school. I could use her book. We were learning the same thing on the same pace. Also, taking some of the autonomy away from the school itself. When I was teaching, when I applied or was trying to find a new position, I went across the river to the school board. That is where I applied. That is where I interviewed, and looked at what I was interested in and what I was qualified for, and they told me these schools have an opening. You went, you talked to the principal, wherever it was a fit, that's where you went. If it wasn't a good fit, you went back to the school board, and you moved, or y'all toughed it out until the next school year. So the school board had a really good management of each school, and I would like to see that again, so that we don't have what we have now, where valedictorians are taking remedial courses when they get to college because they aren't prepared, because there was no one looking at what's happening in the school.
Well, it's also about that homemade curriculum that the state buys for billions of dollars, which is
Right.
Is totally not age appropriate, and I know this because I studied that whole thing, and I was an activist about it, and I already know it. I have a grandson in the system, and the curriculum is absolutely whack. Mm-hmm. And there's no standardization from school to school. But also what I'm concerned about is the resegregation of our schools. Our children, I know in my neighborhood in the 8th Ward, there are schools that are closed. The Rich Captain Haley is closed. I really don't know, but children are being bused to places unknown. We do know them, but why is that? Why can't we have our neighborhood schools? I mean, they took Andrew J. Bell and turned it into condos. I'm just saying, what's really going on? It feels like a plantation system to me. I feel like my grandson is another slave on a plantation, or a chip to be used as a Bitcoin of some sort. how can we give these children, vocational tech is gone, physical ed is gone, there's very little art in schools. The schools are horrible.
Again,
So
it goes back to
what
what I
can
was
you do as a
saying.
legislator to make sure that our children in the city of New Orleans get proper education?
Like I was saying, we make amendments to it because we don't have a full plan in place to replace the whole Act 91. So you just make amendments to change it and get it to look for how it needs to look for the area. And that would be, again, like I said, taking autonomy from the schools, putting it back into the school system. Because if you have a school system that has oversight and management, then that school system can say, hey, this is the curriculum you're going to follow. This is what you're going to use to teach that curriculum.
And that's accountability.
It's exactly. So that's what I would like to do. Board have more comments.
Yes. I'm going to take questions from the audience. We're not going to use the index cards tonight. So I'm going to ask Ms. Cece if you would just kind of monitor that. If you have a question, just raise your hand and she will call on you to ask that question of our candidates that are here tonight.
Well, before we start, I just wanted to also ask about the green economy and the green infrastructure plan. You know, some of our people are talking about having rain gardens in place of the blight that we have. So we have a green infrastructure plan, and also what would you propose to do about Death Alley, which is what, Cancer Alley?
Yes.
I signed up to work with in-community voice to work on their green program. So I was going there. That's what I would do.
With the green infrastructure, that was one of my strongest interests at the last place of my employment. And I am very much in favor of that and encouraging people to do green gardens at their homes. Some of them can be very expensive, but some are very, very inexpensive. You can start off with the rain barrels to collect the rain. Get rain barrels to collect the rain and making sure that you clean out your gutters in front of your the drainage in front of your home.
Would you support funding to create a green infrastructure?
There are
legislative bills.
There are state and federal grants now for companies and businesses. There's a school, I forgot the name of the school, across the river that just received a state grant to work in partnership with Surgeon Water Board to put in a green yard, so to speak. It's like a playground, but it takes in and holds in the water. It was then showing on the news how it was like a lake in front of the school building, and the children were waiting across the parking lot to get to their parents. And so what they're going to do is use permeable materials over the yard and make some of the other part of the yard a play garden, and with the playground equipment, but it retains the water so that the schools aren't flooding. So there are grants out there. I would try to work and find other monies for individuals, but we need to start on a larger scale to get those green gardens.
Cancer Alley. Justice and Beyond has been fighting the renamed Cancer Alley, Justice and Beyond Death Alley. Petrochemical industry is killing our people, and you know that they have. Can I use the mic? Oh, I can talk a little louder. How about that? As I was asking, I was saying Justice and Beyond has had a sustained campaign against Death Alley, as it's now the coin that you guys, Justice and Beyond has coined the phrase Death Alley to replace Cancer Alley. So we do have a lot of people who are poor, who are still dying, women are still losing their babies. What do you guys want to do as state legislators to tamp down or to put regulations in place for the petrochemical industry so that people can stop dying in Death Alley?
Working with legislators, come up with something that's fixed.
We need to funding to help those families relocate. It wasn't their fault that the homes were built on this landfill. I'm going with this. I'm sorry.
I know you're on the other
I
side.
probably, yes.
You are the garden closet.
I'm on the space. Yes, it is.
We're talking about people along the road, the petrochemical industry that keeps polluting their neighborhoods, and they were there first. We brought in the petrochemical companies, and they're killing people.
Really, again, with accountability, we need to make sure that they come in and be environmentally responsible to the areas that they come into. And just like we find ways to get retribution for when CELA comes in and tears up our homes in our neighborhoods, we need to put the same thing on thank you. Same thing on petrochemicals, because it help those people be able to relocate and move, just like I was going with Gordon Plaza. They need to be relocated and moved, and then that area needs to be responsibly cleaned up so that you don't have just a recurring effect.
We're going to open up the floor for questions now. Who has a question? This young lady.
Speak very loudly, please.
Will you support a resolution to declare a statewide climate emergency?
Yes.
I'm going to write you about that.
Any other
I
questions?
know you will, baby.
Any other questions? So,
That's another question.
There's another question. Sir, Mike?
Our governor has just been silent on the issue of the chemical plants in St. John and St. James Parish, basically. And so, do you think since our present governor, and I certainly don't support the guy who's running against him. So unfortunately, I may have to vote for him again, even though he turned his back on us and the people of St. James, St. John's Parish who have high cancer rates. How do you think? You said you're going to work with your legislators, but how do you think you're going to be able to do any better than our governor?
I think the question is, you say you work with the legislators, but what about working with the governor, and what kind of pressure you're going to bring to him to clean up Death Valley? And I'm sorry, I think Ms. Escovay has to leave. You want to answer for you?
Are we back on Death Alley, or we
Yeah, we're back on Death Valley.
It used to be called Cancer Alley for years, but now it's called Death Alley.
Let me just clarify real quick, because I think both candidates can speak for information. So in Death Alley, there, also known as Cancer Alley, and as CC spoke about, we renamed it Death Alley. They are inundated in St. John and St. James Parish with petrochemical. There's one that is going to be that is wanting to be permitted to move in, called Formosa, that will be tremendously hazardous to the community. There's one called DuPont Dayca that is putting out 700 times the EPA standards of toxins into the environment, and has a school 1,500 yards away from that petrochemical industry. There's one called Mosaic that is building up a reservoir of toxic waste that is threatening to topple over. We have all of these petrochemical industries that are literally killing the people of Death Alley. What we need is for the legislatures to either make a moratorium and say no more building in St. James and St. John Parish. It's all filled up. There's no more vacancies. What we need is for the children of DuPont Dayca, Fifthwood Elementary, to be moved away from DuPont Dayca industry. We need something to be done where there can be proper monitoring of these industries so that people are no longer being exposed to enormous amount of toxins that are killing them not only by cancer, but by many other respiratory diseases and diseases that cannot even be classified, that are put a name on.
Well, perhaps we could work with the Louisiana Legislative Black Caucus in Toto to call for a moratorium. We understand where the Republicans stand on that, because otherwise they would have done something about it. It's affecting our community, and so perhaps that would be done. Another question? Mr. Bryant?
Yesterday,
chemical company, the largest chemical company in America, and the largest in Louisiana, had an explosion in Blackman. The explosion was so big that people felt the shock from it 35 miles away. People in that community are terrified. They don't know when that community is going to be blown up. And the company said, everything's okay. They said, we contain everything on the premises. Well, people in the neighborhood were choking. Their eyes were burning. The companies continued to lie. And they continued to hold the politicians in their pockets because the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry had bought them off. Now, that's why Reverend Manning was over at LaVie's headquarters. Now, I know LaVie's going to come to y'all. He said, won't you take our money? It's nice. To help you campaign. Won't you take it? Will you take blood money?
Has Bobby offered you any money?
No, I will not.
Or any oil and gas.
I haven't been offered anything.
Would you take it if they offered? Would you take it if they offered? Would you take it if they offered?
Nobody's offered me.
No, if they offered to you, if they offered to you, would you take it?
No, nobody's
That's it.
And specifically, hold on. Specifically talking about the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry. Yeah. There's a no and there's a no.
I don't know if they haven't talked.
All right.
You know what? Mr. Expose has to leave. He has a prior engagement. He's already late. But thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah, I want to thank you for inviting me here this evening. I had a previous engagement. Again, I've been working in this community for 20, 30 years. I have the housing experience, I have the transportation experience, and also have economic development experience. I would appreciate your support and your vote. Again, my name is Adonis Expose, number 129, candidate for state representative of District 99. Thank you.
Thank you. And why don't we just finish up with both candidates, and we're going to move to our second half of our presentation tonight. So we welcome Ms. Newell to give the closing remarks.
Thank you again. Thank you for this opportunity again. I'm Candace Newell, candidate for state representative, District 99. I'm number 131 on your ballot. I have experience working in education on the elementary, high school, and higher ed levels. I have worked in the healthcare system. I worked in the criminal justice system, and I worked as in the mental health industry when we had mental health choices and options in the state and city. I'm highly qualified. I'm uniquely qualified to hold this position. I've had the experience with working and drafting legislation during my time in law school when I was an intern with the Black Caucus and with the state Senate. I've done the research to draft the bill for the non-unanimous jury verdict to get that on the floor and passed. So I have the education and the experience to hold this position as state representative. But I need your support and I need your vote. Again, I'm Candace Newell, number 131 on your ballot.
Thank you both of our candidates and Ms. Cece Cameron for interviewing tonight. Thank you so much, Ms. Cece. Everybody don't go anywhere. Our second half of our presentation tonight And y'all can just gather in and have a seat. The second half of our presentation tonight is about our march on Death Alley, formed by the Coalition Against Death Alley. I'm going to invite Mr. Pat Bryant to kind of be over this section, if you would. Surprise to him, but to just talk about what went on. And at this time, too, if you were on the march, we want to hear your story. We marched for 13 days from New Orleans to Baton Rouge. We had a grand finale in Baton Rouge with me as a star. You don't know it, but you're going to be the star in the finale. Anyway, but just on behalf of myself, those of you know my arraignment is tomorrow. I've been charged with inciting a riot. And so tomorrow I will definitely plead not guilty to inciting a riot. And I ask for your prayers. And we want to hear more about the march. We're going to share that time now. People on the march want to hear from you.
Thank you, Reverend. I grew up in the church. And one thing that taught in the church is be also ready, because somebody may call on you very soon. Usually it was to pray, but sometimes it was to sing a song. But thank you, Reverend Man, for this opportunity. The march, this work? Yes. The march that we had was very effective. You march to bring attention to a bad situation. You march to point out your enemy in a bad situation. And we did that. We brought attention to the fact that people were being poisoned. It's predominantly black people being poisoned because the chemical companies sit right beside black communities. And the white community say, oh well, it's not over here, let it stay over there. Well, they're beginning to see now that those poisons don't stay there, but they die just like everybody else. We brought attention to that. And we stood our ground. What do I mean by that? We presented ourselves, we presented the problem, and we weren't chased off by those mean police. Reverend Man asked the cop a question, and the cop didn't want to answer the question. He said, you're under arrest. Well, he didn't say he was under arrest. He said, give me your hand. And threw Reverend Manning down. That ain't right.
No.
Then got on top of him. Put their knees in his back. Twisted his arms around it. When I saw that happen, I said, that looks like what they did. What was the brother?
Alton Sterling.
Alton Sterling. The cop pulled his gun out and shot it. Bang, bang, bang. And we all saw the video, but nothing happened. It's a mean world, and it's dead set on the genocide of black people. No question about it. If anybody wants to debate that, they're going to lose. Now, what did you see? You know, you were all very patient. You were all hard working. And you saw a lot. What did you see? What did you do? And what did we accomplish? Who wants to answer that? Nobody? Well, How's that?
You didn't say it.
Oh yeah, you know. And
Want
this,
to sing along?
yeah, come on.
All right, repeat after me.
Yeah.
The petrol's in the water.
Petrol's in the water.
Petrol's in the air.
Petrol's in the air.
Petrol man, he wants you dead.
Petrol man, he wants you dead.
And he wants you not to care.
And he wants you not to care.
We're gonna march on.
March on.
We've done it once before.
We've done it once before.
We're gonna march on.
March on.
All the way to the governor's door.
All the way to the governor's door.
Singing that and many other freedom fighting songs on the way to Baton Rouge. One thing that stood out prominently in this march for me was the resistance that we met compared to last time. There was resistance last time. They tried to get us not to cross the bridge. They did get us not to cross the bridge. They threatened us with 15 years in jail to cross the Sunshine Bridge last March. This March, again, we were being followed by agents from probably the state, maybe private security, who knows. But that was no different than last time. However, we got confronted by the police multiple times trying to tell us to leave our position. This time, we did not leave. We did not leave. We stood our ground, and the police, until that last day, they would not challenge that. They saw that we were within our rights. We were practicing our right to assemble and speak. And we used those tactics to get closer and closer to the adversaries that we were trying to point out. And that's very important. And when the police didn't show to escort us down the street, we blocked the street off ourselves. That civil disobedience, I think, is something that was very inspiring for me. We're getting bolder and we're fighting harder, and that was it. We're going to stand up against Reverend Manning's charges as well. Another way that we're not going to roll over for the opposition. So that's right.
Reverend Barnwell.
Thank you.
Welcome, my first.
That's the truth. That's the truth. That is the truth. Oh, my Lord.
Come on, Ben. Now let me tell you about Ben. Ben, when I first got here in New Orleans, I guess I've been there a couple of years. There was this super active young man. He went to everything. He did everything. He was very radical. He was down at the South African Embassy, and they was beating up on the door and everything. I'm taking pictures, and just like happened to you, I'm expecting them to go and grab the white guys, but they were the ones hitting on the door pretty hard. And I was taking pictures. And Ben was one of those, him and Lance Hill, down there hitting on the door and everything. Mike Howell. And the cops came over and arrested me. They wanted a big black.
That also happened there was a protest. Alec was meeting here. I don't know if everybody here is familiar with Alec, but I was at that protest. And what does Alec actually stand for? I haven't seen you in a moment. The
American Legislative
Legislative Executive Council.
Executive
Thank you.
Council.
Yeah. And it's some high-power folks who really control, I would say, nationwide, maybe even globally, of what's going on. Well, anyway, they were meeting at one of the hotels down here, and we had a demonstration. And I would say it was a good mixture of white and black folks there at that demonstration. And the same thing that Pat was talking about, there were some people who were very vocal. I wasn't so much vocal. I was holding a sign, and I wasn't so much vocal. But there were a lot of white and black folks. And the same thing, they pushed through the white folks and grabbed 2 black folks and arrested them. Luckily, Bill Clinton was able to do something about it. But I like to, one thing you did, Pat, which I liked, when we came out of the Association of Business and Industry, the office, and we were outside. This was after Manning was arrested. And once again, we were being challenged. You were being challenged by a white cop. He was telling us to break up and go. And he yelled something to you about an ordinance, which they throw this stuff to intimidate us. And you stood up to him and you said, "What ordinance? What ordinance?" And one thing I learned out of that is they can make it, but he didn't know what he was talking about because he couldn't name the ordinance. So we stood our ground. And anyway, did I get that right, Pat, that he was telling us to move? I think I did.
Yeah, he was telling us to move on. And we said, we got a right to be here. And I got on the bullhorn, and he said, "You can't use that. Stop using that."
Wow.
So I asked him why. And of course he said, "There's a law." So I asked him, where is the law? He says, it's a local ordinance. I said, "Let me see it."
Loud music.
Huh?
Loud music, maybe.
Yeah. So he wasn't going to do it. But he said, "If you use it again, I'm going to lock you up." Well, by that time I was already thinking that somebody had to get reprimanded out. And they had 2 of us. At that time they had 2.
Right.
Reverend Manning and Coney. And I said, I better not push that one. Somebody needs to call a jury too. And I stayed out to do that. But there's no ordinance that say you can't use a bullhorn. There's no ordinance. I mean, be perfectly clear. There is no ordinance against your using a bullhorn. Now, if they can say that you were disturbing the peace, or you were too loud. But if they say you were too loud, they need to have an ohm meter to register the decibel that you were broadcasting at. So that's good to hog with. Our own friendly attorney, David Capasso.
Just a soul, just like you and I, as John Kruger. Who am I to say what needs to be done? I'm just nobody, another lost one. But between what's left and what needs to be done, now more than ever. And it is interesting because I have to disagree with you. And again, the joy of being here, the only reason I'm here is that funny woman in the back, Mariana Butler, got me here 30 years ago. But the thing is that I am here 30 years later. You can be arrested for anything. Supreme Court of Louisiana, Supreme Court of the United States. Trying to do a test case where a pregnant woman, they arrested a lot of black men and women in Texas for a seatbelt. They were jacking them up. And the ACLU said, this can't be right. You can't just arrest black people for a seatbelt. We're going to do this test case. We're going to get a pregnant white woman. We're going to put her in the seat and see what happens. They arrested her, took the case all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, police have the discretion to arrest anyone for anything, anytime. But the question is, if you have a blowhorn and the cop says you can't do that because it's loud, and if I say it again and you don't do it, I'm going to arrest you for resisting an officer. He can do that. But our question again is, are you going to arrest us for speaking up, praying, and speaking out when those oil and chemical gas companies killing everybody every day? You don't even say one word to them. If that's the site, bring it on, because you arrested the wrong man. Now, as far as we're concerned, they arrested the right man at the right time. Pastor Gregory Mann, who was basically, I think, I wasn't there, it was 15 minutes, and I was supposed to be arrested with him. I had made it all planned up. I was going to nail the 95 violations of the oil companies like Martin Luther to their door. I was ready to do it. And I know that would have been criminal damage to property. But I was there late. And they took him for trying to have a woman continue her prayer and her statement, let her speak. So the officer said, say one more word and I'll arrest you. So technically disobeying an officer, but what's the charge? There's no charge. It's freedom of speech. They illegally arrested him for nothing. They falsified a charge. That's a lawsuit. Now again, we're not here for those kind of things, but the joy of how can we now, as organizers, create the action from this? How can we create the vibe? And right now, as Father Barnwell said, Pastor Barnwell said, part 3 has now come out of the oil and gas and the advocate. The whole city, the whole state, Dr. Barber, I was on the phone with Doc, he knew about the arrest before I even texted them at the Poor People's Campaign. And today's paper, as I said to Pastor Manning this morning, Walt Handelsman, not a very political guy, a comic. The cartoon in the paper today was these kind of corporate guys in their corporate headquarters, and the whole thing is the chemical wasteland and all the chemical. And one guy says, I've heard they're starting to call it Cancer Alley. And the guy in the booth says, don't worry about it. That'll die down soon. They'll just die down soon. This is not funny. They're going to die, and it won't worry about it. And that's funny, but it's not funny. And I'm honoring Walt Handelsman and everybody's on our side. Now, what we have to do is get everybody to take a position. Which side are you on? The union says all the time. There's only one side of the workers. Which side are you on? Are you on the side of Pastor Manning, Justice and Beyond, or are you on the side of these companies that will arrest you if you speak out against them? And on the 11th floor, their law firm is right across the hall. Let's go in Lewis. That represents them. When I went up there 15 minutes later to present they threatened me. I'm like, who are you? You just came out of that law firm. Oh, and Pat said that's their lawyers. I get it. So this kind of grumpy, over 50 looking paralegal was threatening me from the law office. Wait a minute, I just went over here to the lobby to just present myself. I have business. Remember they said, you don't have any business here, we have business. So the issue is, this has happened before in Senator Cassidy's offices and other people, that the question is, when you go into a building, it's not a public forum, it's not a place, but is it? Because if you have business with a company that is the spokesperson for the company, we have business there, we wanted to speak to them. We have a right to be there. That's a public space for verbally, their argument is, you're disturbing the tenants. You're causing disturbance to the tenants. Which tenants are going to be there when we do this case? Which tenants are going to speak out that says no one? It's a lie. But the question, maybe we have to make new law that says you have a right to speak your grievances about these issues. And I'm looking forward to that. We also have a right to present this issue in the next 15 days to these 2 candidates running for governor. Which side do you support? Pastor Manning or the oil and chemical companies, who again have ordered this to happen? When the police arrived, they pretty much are the private cops for the corporations. I just do what that manager says. He says you're trespassing. I have the right to do what I want to do, but I say East Baton Rouge Parish, you will be sued. You cross the line and you mess with the wrong person. So I'm looking forward to more actions. If they want to challenge us with more arrests, bring it on. I'm so ready to go. Because when he went for us. And we were there for him. We showed commitment, solidarity. Sylvie said, I'm not leaving until we get there. And we got him out. We got a $4,000 bond signing. That's amazing. That's amazing that we were able to get it. I thought that they were going to really hit him with some type of $50,000 credit. Remember after Katrina, that woman that got arrested when they were tearing down St. Bernard Project, and the homeless advocate woman got arrested for something dealing with critical infrastructure. They were tearing the housing authority down, but they called it critical infrastructure. She was hit with a $80,000, $100,000 bond, and she stayed in jail for 4 weeks. That's the way they try to do stuff. But we're not afraid. We're not afraid of anybody. And I just feel sad for the people who have had to deal with this every day of their lives. So I am so ready. Bill Quigley from Loyola, who again is the reason why I went to law school. And I said, you don't need any help, but let's not do this not guilty, I said to Pastor Manning. Let's do this like he needs a lawyer. He had to go hire somebody. He had to stop what he's doing. And by the way, Miss Powell and her son say hello to you, Frankie. This is like a low-income homeless woman, and she's scared that her pastor went to jail. She was really worried, and a lot of us were. But we didn't know what foot we were going to put down on him. But if this is the kind of things that they want to continue to do, bring it on. But I think that they now are hiding from us, and we cannot let them hide. We got to flush them out with Dow Chemical. I want to go back to Lobby's headquarters, back to Lisco Lewis. Anywhere we have to go where they are, we'll go there. And you know what? I want to say this as I came up with this myself, is that when Trump said on the immigrant crisis, it's racist, go back to where you came from, you immigrant. I say, oil, chemical, you keep polluting, you go back to where you came from. I don't even know where that is. Some lobby people, some shell corporation, go back. That's our strength. Go back to where you came from. This is our home.
Amen.
Hey, Paso. Now, Dave reminds me of a lawyer back in the 60s, Arthur Kenoy.
Oh, yeah. Hugh Hess.
Arthur was a fiery lawyer who wound up at Rutgers. He was a teacher at Rutgers Law School. And he was also a companion of Bill Kunstler.
Oh, wow.
And Arthur would go on just like David. But look, y'all keep looking at, let me see, any new people here? Anybody hasn't seen Grandma and Baby? Anybody? This is a painting that traveled with us all up and down the river. See Grandma here? Holding the baby. The chemical company, that's Dow Chemical Company, coming over, all that poison's coming over, Grandma and the baby. A local artist did this for us because we've been fighting this system a long time. We've seen this picture many times. Our people to go down into Reserve see this. As a matter of fact, this is a house in Reserve. And it's got to stop. But you have to tell the story. And this image tells the story clear, and there's no defense to that. There's no defense to poisoning human beings like that. Anybody else need to say something?
Pat, I want you to
Wait.
Yes.
There's copies of this. We've got copies of this for sale. You can buy it tonight if you like for $20. Now,
Sold.
Did you ask people if people want to speak?
yeah.
Elizabeth wanted to speak.
Pat, you hadn't talked about your grandchildren and their friends on the march. That's one of the high points.
Yeah.
People are rising really marching with you guys, and they remain so excited and really feel that the work that we're doing is so important. One thing that they felt after Reverend Manning was arrested is they were initially very scared. I don't remember what I thought jail was like when I was a kid, but it must be like the worst place in the world.
Yes.
But after Reverend Manning was arrested, we had to have a little powwow together. We separated ourselves from the group, and we had a little discussion, and they were very, very, very worried to see Reverend Manning. And I had to reassure them that you were okay, and that you would be getting out, because, it's crazy. And then also, I had to really talk to them about the purpose and why he was arrested. And I think that they really got that. They want to silence us. And
Coming up, yada, union.
Oh, wait, let me say
Elizabeth carried us to church yesterday.
Yeah.
Tell us about it.
One more thing before we get to this. Where's my boy here crying? Baby, everything happens so fast. But the miracles and the favor that was shown on us and towards us as we waited, it was awesome. God is real.
Real.
So sometimes people may think we're afraid, but we're not. Some people step when God says step. Fear we always conquer by victory, by unity, but it's power in numbers. We are the people. So we must reach out to other people, other blacks, other whites, Asians, everybody. This is all our fight.
Yeah. Right.
So we have to emphasize that and make them feel what we went through and let them know we are fighting for you all. Whether you want us to or not, we here, we in it. So please keep praying for us. We need y'all prayers. Thank you.
So I just want to say, I just want to point something out tonight as a female, that it's been a deep, deep privilege. I feel so moved to have met the women that I've met through this march, through marching on this march. You know, women who are in this room right now, and also women who are in St. James and St. John. And I have to tell you that one of the most moving things was when we went up to Baton Rouge the first day, Monday. We did not go out Tuesday. We combined Monday and Tuesday into Monday. And we met a woman, Miss Sharon. So I'll call her Sharon from Baton Rouge because we have a Sharon in St. James, obviously. And this woman was so super articulate and such a beautiful, loving, caring person. And she has 2 daughters. And both of her daughters, neither one of them, they're both adults, but neither one of them can drive. One of them is legally blind, and one of them has developmental disabilities. Both of these children had birth defects, I believe, from the effects of the chemical dump and the chemical plant, and there's something that's called Devil's Swamp, right? It's called Devil's Swamp, and it runs a long way from one side of Baton Rouge down near the city. And she told us about that, and she's been dealing with this for years and years, and all that her community wants is to be put in homes where they cannot be afraid of the soil or the water or the air anymore. They need to be what's it called?
Not poisoned.
Yeah, not poisoned, and they need to be moved, and that everything would be paid for. So keep that in mind, that that's a fight that we'll be going into in the next year. And also the women of Mossville who came, who spoke at the Louisiana business industry. And those women said, no one comes when we hold press conferences. No one comes. And you people are here and people are listening. And so we can't abandon those people in Mossville. Hopefully they'll be getting a lot more attention because of the documentary that just came out. So, and then the people of Gerttown who need to be put in new homes where they can not be afraid of the radioactive soil, and people in Gordon Plaza who need to be put into new homes because they're living on a toxic waste dump. And the last thing that I also want to point out is I just want to say thank you to Meg and Renata. They're not here tonight. so much organizing, and they did a lot of the heavy lifting from day to day. Renata had all those signs, all the banners, the water in her car every single day. So please reach out to Renata personally and tell her thank you, because without her being there just about every day, there were a couple of days that she wasn't there, but without her being there, there would have been no water to drink, no banners, no signs. So that was a big deal. And I just want to thank you for bringing your children. That was amazing. That was really incredible.
Yeah.
And I want to publicly thank Ashley. She's not here today, but I want to publicly thank Ashley for bringing her songs and her stop signs, her Monsanto stop signs, because those were really, like, we changed the names. We changed them from Formosa to Mosaic to DuPont, Denga to Dow, like whatever we needed. But they're so effective and they're amazing.
She's doing it on the bus.
Right, and her enthusiasm. And then I just want to thank Sylvia for being and also like every little detail that she took care of, which I can't even name them all because I don't know. But I know there was so much. And also she helped us get out of that building and get to safety. You know, she gave us the word and said, "Come on, you building." So that was really important. And that's all I have to say. And thank you so much, Reverend Mandy, for your inspiring sermon yesterday. It was just fantastic. So if anybody ever needs to go to a really great church service, go to Reverend Mandy.
Yes.
Sure. It is the Broadmoor Community Church at Dupre, Broad, Napoleon, and Fontainebleau. Versions of all those streets.
But you need to know, no perfect people are around.
You're standing up the whole time, so you better be ready.
Let me just say a couple of words. First, there were so many white folks who stood in the way of those police officers, and I'm impressed by that. And one is Josie back there on the carpet, stood in the way. And from what I'm told, she touched the officer, said, "You're not going to get near him." They didn't want her. They wanted a big black man. I fit the bill. So Reverend Barnwell wanted to get in the way. He stood there. And I know you were hurt, sir, that you did not physically hurt, but emotionally hurt, that you could not protect me. And I thank you for that. Nia, I was so concerned about the children. I told Sylvia about that. I said I was concerned about the elementary school children, how they felt watching all of that. So I'm glad you were able to debrief with them and process that with them. Amen. They were marching in the street with us. So those young people are fearless. So I just thank God for them and for your leadership of them and how well you taught them. So thank you for that. Absolutely. And as I said yesterday in church, there's a story about Joseph in the Word of God. Joseph was thrown into prison, thrown into a pit first, then imprisoned and framed, and then got elevated to Pharaoh's palace. And then his brothers came back and begged for food because they didn't have any. And they cried and cried, and they thought that Joseph was going to be angry with them and punish them and just resent them. And so finally Joseph revealed himself to the brothers, and they cried and they wept. And Joseph said, "It's all right, for you meant it for evil, but God meant it for good, for the saving of many souls." Here's what I want everybody to know, that we would not have gotten the publicity, we would not have gotten the acknowledgement of all the papers and WDSU News and all the reports that have come out. One of my congregation members told me yesterday, he said, "Pastor, as soon as it happened, it was on NPR." And so many people heard about it instantaneously that would not have heard it because they had cleared Lobby out. They told them to go home for the day with nobody around. When we got there, it was deserted. And so if nobody would have heard it had not it been that
Cowards,
I was
man.
placed
Cowards.
It
Ran away.
Right. That had not I been placed in the parish prison. Even when I was there, one of the police officers said, he said, what are you in for? He said, I know you must be in for something really incredible because we had all kinds of media calling us. So yeah, it was worth it, and I know that God had a plan. As I said on yesterday in church, when you realize the purpose, you don't get upset about the problem. And I realized the purpose for which I was there, and so I didn't mind. I felt I did. I'm 46 years old. I've never been in prison, never been in juvenile prison, never been in jail, never received a speeding ticket for that. That's for a reason though. But never received a speeding ticket. Never got kicked out of school. My family knows that I'm squeaky clean. I've never been in anything like this. But God meant it for a reason. And so. I am happy that that I do. And so for Jesus, yes. And I want to give credit to one woman, and I hand the microphone back to that. But to one woman who, when I was getting my mug shots, and they were fingerprinting me, and then they were taking DNA. I asked, well, why are you taking DNA? They said, because you're charged with a felony and signing a riot. And so, see, the whole time she's taking my fingerprints, all the other officers are around, but she's whispering in my ear saying, they're going to drop this. They're going to drop this. Don't be scared. They're going to drop this. It's going to be all right. It's going to be all right. And she's a middle-aged black woman, and she's whispering in my ear the whole time that it's going to be all right. And so I'm thankful that she was my angel during that time that I was afraid and that I was scared, that God sent you there. God will always send you an angel. Amen. No matter, and He don't care what package He puts them in. Old, young, black, white, He'll just send you an angel. So I'm glad about that. So I'm glad to be in the fight. Tomorrow I will go to be arraigned in Baton Rouge. It's tomorrow. Tomorrow, it's Tuesday. It's tomorrow. And it's an arraignment, but if you can't be there, that's fine. We're going to have a press conference outside of Dow tomorrow as well too. Afterwards, my arraignment is at 9 o'clock. Bill Quigley is picking me up at 6:45. We're going to quickly stop by Rouse's at 7 o'clock for anybody who may need a ride and wants to carpool and follow us. We've got to be leaving Rouse's at 7 because I don't want to be late for court. So we're going to be leaving Rouse's at 7, not 7:01, not 7:02, at 7 o'clock. We're rolling out of Rouse's. So if anybody needs a ride and wants to meet there, then I would love for you to be there in solidarity and support. But again, thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Reverend Man, for your coming to assume leadership of Justice and Beyond. That you have moved to assume leadership at CADA up the river, and that you got all those big chemical companies scared.
Amen.
They scared, including the entity. Because
no doubt.
Entity is the company that supplies electricity
to
all these companies.
That's right.
And so we got a job on our hands. So folks, we can't let it down. I'm going to be there with you.
Amen.
I'm going to be there with you. And we're going to go over to Dow tomorrow at 11 o'clock. And we're going to call on those who are responsible in our government. Put some monitors in that plant.
Yes.
You need about 50 to 75 monitors on each ship in a company that big. That company takes up 1,500 acres of land. We need at least 50 to 75 monitors a ship. That's a lot of work. And they need to be on hand to tell us what's going on because the company lies. We have to tell the public tomorrow, this company cannot be trusted And you can't trust the politicians because they've been bought off by lobby.
Amen.
You understand?
Best politicians money can buy.
Best politician money can buy. So join us to represent for Pastor Manning, and join us to send that message to the citizens of Iberville and all these other parishes that the politicians can't be trusted. They already voted. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat, for leading that time. I want to say, too, the ultimate thing that kind of tipped everything off on Wednesday was Miss Christine from Mossville was given the opportunity to speak about the what's going on in the devastation in Mossville. And I said to the police officer that we're going to give her 2 minutes to speak and then we're going to move out. Miss Christine is the embodiment of Grandma and the baby. And when I saw that she was the embodiment of Grandma and the baby, and this was her time to stand on her porch and talk to people and to tell everybody what lobby is allowing to be done to her, I said, this is her moment, and she shall not and will not be shut down. And so I said, we're going to give her 2 minutes, and then we're going to leave. Before I knew it, it was all over. But I'm proud that I did that because we've got to give way so that our elders who are being murdered can speak their piece. And we cannot allow people to take away their voice any longer.
One more, and I don't mean to be a ham, but it's really important. I think this is really freaking important. This moment right here, to me, it is no different than Birmingham and the dogs. It is no different. This is it. When those dogs were on national TV and they interrupted, the civil rights movement changed. Do you hear yourselves? Do you hear Pastor Manning even? I was told when I was growing up, jail was not a good idea. I don't have a right. That's what the civil rights mother said. Jail was bad. We would never, it was a shame to go to jail. But they knew something was different. And when they started walking to jail together, I tell you, the Lord right now says the next time we go to lobby, they're going to arrest all of us together. They're going to have to take all of us together. And then they'll fill the jails with us. And then we'll come back again and get arrested again. That's how they will know that we are not stopping. I'm serious. All my life with Acorn and a lot of other union stuff, we were taught we really don't want our members to get arrested. It really is embarrassing. When Ray Rathke, when Beth Butler, when a lot of people, we had to worry about getting arrested. It's very tedious getting people out, lawyers' money, but not anymore.
I just want to show you how we're going to do it.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's exactly how we're going to do it.
Like this, right?
But here,
so he goes.
Well, and it's a simple thing, lobby. We just want to know if you find your members in your group are polluting and toxic and breaking the law, will you call them out, yes or no? If they ignore us, we're going to tell the press they didn't answer us. We're going back to ask that question again to them. Will you call their members out, yes or no? Because if you don't, then you are a fake group and you are a manipulator. It's all about who you are, lobby. You tell the businesses, I don't care what you do. I don't care if you break the law. Just keep paying us money. Keep supporting pro-business against social justice, and you can join us anytime you want. And I'm telling you, we have found the right target, and we have found the right cause, and we have found the right leader right here. And we have just started round 2. I'm ready to find out who's ready to get arrested with us. Which side are you on?
Amen. Thank you, David.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'm so ready.
All right, we're fired up.